Right, I think we are good. Welcome to today's video. We are 5 hours into a 22-hour drive to Calpe.
6 hours, 3 minutes, mate.
6 hours and 3 minutes into a 22-hour drive to
Oh,
Calpe.
that's totally better. Thank you so much for sending in all of your questions. We're going to answer some.
First one is from Simon Heaven.
Nice name.
Best
Great name.
budget upgrades for bike, clothing and / or equipment.
Budget.
Budget. So, like,
Latex inner tubes.
clothing for me is the defeat overshoes, the over socks,
Yeah.
because they are not very expensive at all. I bought like a bundle of like 3, absolutely cracking. Used them all winter. Buff ting.
Because I always use buff when it's cold.
Yeah.
And equipment, upgrading your brake pads.
On the flip side, have you ever tried really cheap brake pads?
I think so.
don't work.
Yeah. My cheapest like budget equipment upgrade would be getting a load of power links for your chain.
Yeah.
That's a
Just
good
so,
one.
so you can take your chain off easily, keep the whole thing
Without
clean,
poking the pin, plugging it back in there,
which is disastrous.
Which don't do that.
Charles Harris, yeah?
Charlie.
Oh, Charlie. Started cycling a year ago and recently decided that I want to get into racing. What kind of things should I look to do / not do as I build up my volume of training and try to race at a higher level?
Enter a race.
Yeah. Good start point.
Yeah. And if it's fourth cat, just start attacking. Racing exists for the purpose of attacking. Learn how to do it. Attack from the gun. See how long you can stay away from it. Eventually, if you're doing the same series, people who are doing it week after week will catch on, realise you're someone that will do some work, and then you'll probably get a result out of it.
I would say also at the same time, don't limit yourself to just thinking about bunch road racing, crit racing to begin with.
Yeah.
Go do a cross race. Go do a time trial. Go and experience what it's like racing hard for, you know, that kind of hour duration.
Find out what you're good at.
Yeah, find out what suits you, because some things might not work for you, and they're a really great way of figuring out what it all means.
Get dropped. And accept that you're going to get dropped. There's nothing wrong with being dropped. Everyone's been in that situation. Some people find it harder to deal with that, but you need to accept it and deal with it. Jonathan,
Johnny P.
Yeah.
How do you get along financially? YouTube, jam, projects. When did you get into cycling, and what did you do prior to it? At last, this is a lot of questions, and it's also a dyslexic person reading this. If I were to pursue a career in the world of cycling of some sort, what would you recommend to start? Yeah.
Financially, I'd do 3 things. Work for Jam, part-time. Run the YouTube channel, which is a fair chunk of money every month now. And then sponsorship. On top of all that, freelance projects as well. Yeah. And they're like, the freelance projects are probably the most lucrative thing that I do. They don't come along that often, but when they do, it can be really good money for like 2 days worth of work. You earn money through YouTube because of the ad revenue. So the more people that watch the adverts at the start of the videos or at the end of the videos.
It'd be good to point out to the viewers that it's not millions of pounds that
It's
YouTube
not
are paying.
millions of pounds.
Very much takes all 3 of those your things working for it all to work out.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say.
It's a nice bit of pocket money every month, and it works very well with what I do at Jam Cycling as well, because I do all the video and photos for these guys, and I'm also allowed to film at work, so it's an ideal situation. They get on very well together. On top of that, I did actually spot a question earlier saying, why isn't there as many adverts in my videos?
Great question.
You have the option to choose where the adverts are. If you see an advert in the middle of someone's video, they've put it there. The best thing about doing YouTube is the opportunities and sponsorships and things that crop up because of it. I know there was another question in there asking how do you afford to do all these trips and nice equipment and that sort of thing, and that is, all of those things are a result of the YouTube channel, you know. So if I do go on an event, it's probably because I've been invited.
But what you're saying,
I wouldn't be able to afford to fly to South Africa and things like that. So.
But I like your point about the adverts, because again, you've made that choice not to try and extract more revenue from it, but to have a better quality video for people to watch.
Yeah, totally.
How did I get into cycling? I used to BMX, track and mountain bike as a kid. My first bike was a pink BMX.
The question I had to answer was, how would someone get into working in the cycling industry? Which I've had that question a few times, and it's...
Avoid it like the plague.
Well, no. The thing about the cycling sector is that it's not like a traditional job. There aren't internships, there aren't big corporations in there with lots of jobs. There are a few, but not many, and it's mainly you'll traditionally be working from a media or a PR or a marketing point of view for people that are trying to market brands, as opposed to working for cycling companies. Getting jobs in cycling companies is very difficult. The way I would suggest to do it is to make yourself valuable, something that cycling companies need. So little companies always need people to help them elevate their business, so they need skills more than anything. They need you to be able to come in and help them get their social media right so they can reach new audiences, or need to be able to implement new ways of making things, or bring new products into that people wouldn't have thought about before. So it's, you don't need to be educated at university degree level or anything like that, but you just need to have ideas and help people bring ideas to life, because that's what small businesses need.
Next!
From Anders. I think this is an easy one, and I think all of us can answer this as well. Which bike packing bags is the best? Big saddle bag or handlebar bag? I've always thought that the big saddle bag is the best after frame bag.
I'd want both on, and I have ridden with either just one or with both multiple times. And if your bike has got that big heavy weight on just the back, it does make it feel real super strange the whole time, whether that be climbing, whether that be just literally getting off and going to a petrol station, you forget and the whole thing does a backflip.
Yeah.
So I prefer actually having both on simultaneously, spread the load between the two. It gives you a much more normal handling feel of the bike.
Because the weight of the actual bags themselves, if you're just distributing the contents, the weight of the bags themselves doesn't make a difference.
It's almost nothing.
It's negligible.
Yeah.
Everyone becomes so hung up on weight, and really, you're better off with an aero.
You're better off
setup.
making smart choices about what goes in the bags and where you distribute that throughout the bike.
And that only comes with practice. Ben Tomlinson. Is a cyclocross bike the ultimate all-rounder, or what is?
Good, nice. It's a good question.
I've never had a CX bike, don't know.
Right, well there you go.
What's the geometry like? It's a bit twitchy compared to a gravel machine.
The ultimate all-rounder would be a titanium gravel bike.
Made by someone who knows what they're doing.
Made by someone that knows they're doing. Just to be honest, negate that, I would say a gravel bike. Because you can race a gravel bike in cross, you can use it as a road bike, it's got the clearance for big tyres or for small tyres. An all-rounder bike, I don't really care if it's going to be aerodynamic. It's an all-rounder bike, it's a bike I'm going to be using as my day-to-day bike. The ironic thing about this is my day-to-day bike at the moment is a cyclocross bike. Yeah. It's such a new thing in cycling at the moment, gravel riding, but it's the kind of the thing that's the fastest.
It's just married loads of different aspects of the other bikes, isn't it? So.
Yeah.
I own the opposite of what you're talking about. So I own the carbon racing CX bike out and out, which I have a flippable stem on there, depending whether I'm racing on it or I'm bike packing on it, and I've used it for both.
Yeah, it's fun.
And then when I'm not using it for those two things, I use it as my winter bike or my grim day bike or whatever else. As an all-rounder, it's like an ultimate in terms of, if you've got one pot of money, it's not the biggest pot of money in the world, with one pot of money, you've got my one bike. I really like that as a solution, because it's being carbon, it's fast enough that I can go out on most rides and not get drops, because it's not weighing a ton. I can race it in a whole variety of scenarios, and then I can pack bags on it and go away for a week on it, as I have done before, and it holds up to the job perfectly.
Sorry if this is too personal, but when starting a small business, how did you go about funding the initial startup? And how did you get to the point where companies started selling their products through you?
Without going into too many personal details, I went into small business first. I had to borrow a small amount of money to buy into a small business. After 3 years, I turned that into quite a bit more money. So when I sold my shares in that company, I had more money than when I started. So it's the simple case of start with a little bit, find an idea and help it grow. Once I'd done that once and proven that I could do that, I was then able to go and get more funding. So I then went out and acquired a lot more money that I could then build a bigger business with, which is then Jam.
You were helped out a bit by the fact you worked at Verve, which became your first product in Jam, didn't it?
Yeah, so in between. So I did my own business first and made a bit of money, which gave me a bit of a leverage point to begin with. And then I went into a new industry, learned that. Because I knew I could work with money, I raised a bit more capital and then built that into my own business. So in terms of...
You shaved your legs?
Not today.
I'm the only one with hairy legs. I have to shave my legs.
I've done the base work, like a week and a half ago. How do you get other brands to sell things through you? That is very much a process. If you're a bike shop, it's as simple as speaking to a distributor and saying, I would like to be a stockist of this, come down and have a conversation. If you want to go the next tier over and you want to have a direct relationship, which is where a lot of brands are trying to work nowadays, It's very much a case of being able to build a relationship with that brand, give them confidence in how you intend to work with their product, why it would work in your environment, and then ultimately have the money to be able to make it work. It's a bit of a complicated process involving sales and relationship building.
When we sort of started Jam, you and I spent a lot of time basically trawling social media, finding things that we thought were cool, and then approaching brands.
Yeah, and I suppose that's because we knew our strength would be we'd be able to sell things better if we wanted to ride it, if we rode it ourselves. So we're like, what kind of things would we want to buy, and instead of buying one of them each, let's buy 100 of them each and sell them to other people, because if we're using them and we can talk about them confidently, we know we can sell that as a concept.
Power meter or new wheels?
Power meter.
Disagree.
I look into trainer stuff, power meter, yes, 100%, because it's going to help improve it. If you're someone that just is like a sort of general cyclist, wheels are going to feel better. He's actually going to be able to feel the difference.
Nobody needs a power meter to be able to enjoy riding their bike. If you want, and your desire is to go fast and work hard, whether that be doing a halt route or doing a crit or a road race or anything in between, then it's the best thing. If you're looking to make steps forward, then it's the best thing. If, however, you're looking to get maximum enjoyment out of your bike, there's very few better feelings than jumping on your first set of very good wheels.
Yeah.
Unbehagen.
That's his name.
Oh right, I thought you were just saying words.
That's not the question. That's the guy's name.
I don't know.
In the age of mail order bikes and internet shops, what do you guys think a modern bike shop should be like, and what kind of bikes and accessories it should offer to make a living out of it the customers are happy at the same time? Big mechanic station, big bike thing, and they need to offer really good service.
Okay.
If someone's going to buy a Canyon, they're going to buy a Canyon, aren't they? But then they're going to go to a bike shop when they put it together wrong out of the box.
A little bit of what you said, but also the exact opposite, because if you don't have hubs with lots of bikes in, low entry, beginner style bikes, and most importantly, people there that can give good advice and know what they're talking about, then you're not getting enough people on bikes to begin with to later on come into the bigger scene and kind of get the fit and get the more expensive bike. So I think the thing that both of those have in common is it needs to be service led. Everything needs to be customer service led, offering the best advice you can, regardless if it means that person walks out the shop and goes buy something elsewhere, so that's not your aim, but you need to be so focused on how good a service you can be and give the customer faith in what you're talking about, or else you're not going to be able to compete with the marketing might of elsewhere. So once you've got your bike that you bought from online, you'll just learn how to fix it online as well on YouTube. So you want your bike shops, your places like James's shop or this big hub that's going to give you lots of low entry bikes, to just be really, really good at looking after people, working out what they need and giving them what they need, not what they don't need at a ridiculous price.
It's service.
It's good service.
Service.
How long are George and Chris going to let you be part of the gang while not having a proper beard?
You've had a fake beard.
I'm allergic to that question. You are guys that I'm at the whim of.
We do the beard
thanks
for
for letting
you.
me be friends with you.
We do the beard for you, don't we?
Yeah, we've actually covered it before, and I'm sure people want to know. Why do a lot of roadies people go on about saving weight on their bike, but also wear expensive aero kit at the same time, have great big homeless hippie beards, or are unshaven? Surely sporting a huge beard creates some resistance. Yeah, we asked this to the aero guys, and they were like, depends on the beard shape, but generally, no, it doesn't slow you down at all.
And they pointed at me and they said, if anything, your beard makes you faster, George. Which I agree with.
I don't remember that bit. Oh. As a young rider, money doesn't come easily. What are the essential items needed for cycling in a more competitive aspect?
Latex tubes.
Latex tubes. I think latex tubes are the single biggest difference in feeling you can give your bike for the money. It's like going from clinchers to tubs.
I'd say support network. I'd say the people that are around you that you can ask and speak to about what you're actually trying to achieve physically and mentally within your sport. I'd say whether that happen to be a local coach or whatever it happens to be, somebody you can actually engage with who has done what you're trying to do and can give you advice is more valuable than any type of tube you can put in your bike.
That's it. Can you join a club and make friends with the people and get a lift to a race? Because getting to a race is expensive. Right, how long left? We managed to kill a solid half hour there.
We killed 45 minutes. Carry the one 13 hours.